we'll talk more about calculation today, and we're talking more about candidate moves and options. So it's to some extent going over ground I've talked about, but I want to ram this point home, especially after we went into more complex area with visualization last time. So the way I see calculation is a simple three-step thing. Is you see the options, you calculate them, and then you choose the best one. And I've seen all kind of inversion of this way of doing things. I've seen people choose what they want to play and then think for 20 minutes, but only analyzing one move, white to play. I'm trying to keep it so that I flip the board if black is to play. So I've seen people who choose a move and then analyze to try to justify their intuition. This is not a good way of calculating, because calculation is useful when intuition doesn't really work, when we have to be accurate. Intuition is good for less accurate situations. Sometimes it can solve simple tactics, but difficult tactics usually requires us to see something we don't automatically see. And I'll continue to talk about that. So, as I said, I've seen people choose their move and then calculate only one move. I've seen people not choose a move, but only calculate one move because it looks obvious. And I'm sure that there are plenty of you here who have already spent all the time thinking only about rook takes g7, but not looked for any other moves on move one. So if we remember, one of the truisms I've mentioned earlier is that it's a tendency for us to make our tactical mistakes early in the variations. Move 1 and 2 most usually, and sometimes move 3, and very rarely beyond that. And that's even for 2,800 players. It's very, very rare. So Sanjay has found the right move already. That's good. I think once you see the right move here, you got it. I think Boris might have seen this position before in the training camp. I apologize. I'll bring up some new stuff. No, Jeremy. Look again for options. And this is there's these few things, which is know that you make your tactical mistakes early. Slow down so that you're in control of the thinking process. And how do you do that? You actually look. Often we say things to ourselves such as, I don't know why I missed it, where the reply often is, you didn't look for it. You got it, Boris. I don't know if you'd seen it before or not. But this is a game by Adhiban, and I quite like this this position. And wait to hear, Doc, you got the right move. So Adhiban against Abasov in Vacancy 2016. I don't have a name. I would prefer that you rather sign in, I don't have a name, you sign in with your real name. So we could check it against lists. In the future, it is absolutely possible that we will kick people out who don't sign in with their own name. So there was another question here a bit back, which I didn't ignore. Trostman, have you seen Queen takes G1? And Jeet, no, you're wrong. Um, there was a question about our website. When will it be up? Kalia, do you want to just quickly come over and answer the question?
Hi, guys. Nino and I are working on the website. It will be up very soon. Hopefully by next week you will be able to join in and attend the classes from there. So we hope that it's going to be all available next week. Thank you.
Yeah, so it would have been available a bit earlier if it wasn't, because January is a big flu season up here in the north, and Nino was I think in bed most of the week with a cold. You know, I've been in bed with a cold as well, so I'm not complaining. So. Satya, you say you cannot see the board. Log out and log in again. Okay, so Arnav is saying he couldn't solve positions from page 2 in the homework club. His feeling is very tough. I'm not sure they're so difficult, but there is this thing that what is easy for some is very difficult for others. So Bashik, you have the right move. So page 2 in the homework club is mainly positional exercises. And if you're trying to just calculate move, then you're as a man with a hammer and trying to work with a screw, it's not going to work. Now, here, it is, the reason why I like this position is it is so tempting to calculate these tactics. But here, it's very difficult to find a strong follow-up. So for that reason, we should slow down and look at other options. And that's where one suggestion was here, which fails for many reasons. I think here is even better than what I said. I said queen takes g1, which was also a reasonable move. But Adhiban played here and black resigned. Here it's all over. And once you see this move, there's nothing else to calculate. And actually, in tactics, more than not, it's often like this. Move 1 or 2, you have to see some options. You will see in the homework club that even very, very difficult positions, people take 20 minutes to solve. 2600 GMs don't solve them. Often it's just 1-2 moves. Sometimes they miss something down the line. Sometimes it's just missing something on move 1 or 2. In this case here, Adhiban did well. But let's try to change it a little bit here. And here again, we have Adhiban with white. This is from Oslo International Open. Should be said, this is an earlier version of Adhiban. It's from 2013. And black is another player who also improved immensely later, Rasmus Svane, who has a very Danish sounding name, but is in fact German. So this is Adhiban against Svane, S-V-A-N-E, and it's pronounced like that, not Swain, or however people like to try to pronounce it. So here, we let's say we are in this situation during a game. What do we do? How do we approach it? Of course, first of all, we slow down. We have a clear case of critical moment. So, Jeet, what you're saying is a starting point. And this is a very logical thing to think about. So what is being suggested is H takes G6. Of course, black cannot take on C3 because GF7, I would assume. King F7, Rook H7, King E8, and Queen G6 is made. Or if King H8, then Rook H7 and Rook H3 is made. So H takes G6 is very tempting. And black would play F takes G6. So this is a tempting thing to introduce that. So Tarun, you have an interesting variation. If you slow down, you can see where black can play a better move in the variation. Please tell me that move. Ashia comes with a variation which is Queen F6, D takes C3, Rook takes C3, and sort of feeling happy, I guess. Let's think about what black can play in that position. Where can black improve? I would suggest in move 1. Queen F6. Let's find a good move for black. After Queen F6, what's a good move? On move 1. So there's coming, I saw one. I'm flying without autopilot here. I am playing by myself. So I saw a move which I think is majority have seen, which is knight d7, but a quite significant minority of you have suggested knight d5, which is even stronger because when we take on c3 afterwards, there's no rook takes c3. So queen f6, knight d5. I'm just going to put it in. Oh, that's not best move. There and there. So there also something new for me. So I'm being asked by Jeet. H takes g6, f takes g6, rook takes h7, king takes h7, rook h3, king g7, rook h3, h6. Isn't it mate? And this is of course a decent question. Isn't it mate? Well, we should answer that. But first I will just go to Doug's suggestion here. Queen h6, d takes c3. Again, there's no time for h takes g7 because of d takes c2 check. I think, of course, I don't want to be presumptuous. It does seem to be the case. Queen h6, dc3, rook takes c3. And here I think black has a very easy defensive move. And people are welcome to suggest, yeah, Kushal is suggesting the move I was thinking of. I think it looks fine. I'll just show you how I am thinking. Doug sees the same. I'll just show you how I'm thinking, which is queen h6, d takes c3, which is not necessarily forced, because here I'm concerned. Here is how clear is this actually? This could easily be winning for white. But a starting point is an idea. If rook c3, then queen e7 and defending. So if we say, okay, but queen h6, dc3, takes. Here I know normally I will not move the pieces, but I just wanted to show you here. This variation looks like a disaster. So I'm saying again, we miss the things very early on. Ashia asks, then white wins. Well, white wins in that variation. But here, queen h6. Now let's slow down and not rush down a variation where we randomly take the first poisonous pill that's been offering to us. Look for a move here for black. Jeremy has a suggestion, but then knight e4. Lucky has a suggestion which is more interesting, but I think white then has some suggestions, some ideas with rook g3. Against Jeremy, you're thinking passive. What is the actual idea? The idea is take here. Ashia, try to think about what we're doing here. This is our idea. Don't ruin our idea. Bashik, you're in suicidal mode. I'm not going to follow you there. Queen takes h7, pawn takes h7, knight e4, and a lot of pawns up, or knight e2 defending f4. Here we need a simple move. Let's look in this position, one move ahead. This is, I know it's sort of like repeating myself again and again and again, because it's the important things. You got it, Doc. Of course, queen c7 was suggested here. I didn't react to it. Rook takes d4 looks pretty good to me. That would be a disappointment. Also after queen. For Jeremy, you got it. Slowing down and looking for options. Trying to understand what's happening in the position. Look for options. Satya got it as well. Slowing down is the way to speed up your calculation for two different reasons. One, the quality increases immensely, so you don't waste time doing things. Like you're going to get absolutely killed once h takes g6 comes. You need to look for more ideas. So slowing down gives us a higher quality of moves. It really, really improves our calculation in that respect. And also g5 is suggested. Queen takes g5 check, queen f6, and rook g3 mate. It also, by slowing down, we also teach ourselves to be in control of the position. When we then improve, which we do if we work consistently, and I'll talk about consistent work in a few seconds, but when we then work, Lakshas, you got it, Kushal, you have it. When we talk about consistency of work and we're slowing down, then we're always in control and we're doing the right things. And I don't know what you have learned in your life where you didn't start slow. You know, if people try to learn to drive the same way they try to learn to play chess, you know, everyone would be dead. Bashik, you got it. So anyway, everyone's got it by now. Rook c7, and now we have defense, and we have attack, and it's a winning position. So let's go back. This is a reasonable suggestion. Queen h6. It will require a little finesse to refute it. There was the one point about slowing down, which is if you have control, then as you improve, your speed will increase in control. As everyone who learned to ride a bicycle, drive a car, play a musical instrument, walk. I think most of us don't remember that, but that also started out very slowly. We didn't run in the beginning. So we shouldn't let our mind run in the way we wouldn't let our legs run or the engine run. We should slow down. So here, let's go back to Jeet's question. H takes g6, f takes g6, rook takes h7, king takes h7, rook h3 check, king g7, and of course someone else thought only king g8. clearly an example of going too fast because then queen g6 mate. But king g7, rook h6, asking, it's mate, isn't it? Let's look at that. And Satya, you got the whole thing right. We'll return to that very, very soon. So after this position, after rook h6, rook h3 check, king g7, rook h6. So here, this is a position where we don't see something obvious. So what's the natural thing to do? Slow down, be in control. So we have one suggestion here, which is rook f7. I think after rook takes g6, king h8, rook h6, no, sorry, king h8, rook, queen h4, rook h7, queen f6, it's mate. So change to now to queen f5, rook f5 in that position. Okay. Then we have queen takes g6, king f8, rook h8 check, king e7, rook h7, king d8, and then rook takes d4 check, queen takes d4, queen g8, and mate on the next move. Someone is trying to use a Q&A. I don't use the Q&A, I only use the chat. No raised hand, no Q&A. Use the chat, go to all panelists, which is in this case just myself. So rook f5 does not work in that variation. And this is the point where, on balance, I'm allowing those who are struggling a little bit to see the board. I'm allowing them the chance to see the position here rather than from far. It's important we train ourselves into seeing things very clearly. You could hear that, you know, there's suggestions coming, and I was quite easily seeing the things and the lines and stuff like that. And I'm not a great calculator or a great player. And as you will know, I said rook takes d4 check, which was not best or legal. So rook f5 is an interesting thing suggested here. Rook g8, rook takes g6, and I have either queen f6 or queen h6. So I'm going to return to rook f5 because clearly I gave myself an extra rook, which however friendly it is of me, it's not correct behavior. Ashia said rook g8. No, rook g8, rook takes g6. You just checkmated immediately. So rook f5 was mentioned. Let's put it on the board to see if we can refute it. I had an idea which worked well until I called on my rook on d3 to sacrifice itself again. Well, it's the rook's on d3 and it's h6, I know, but here, continuation for white. See, giving a single move here makes no sense to me. Yes, it's a move, but where's the idea? When we're calculating, we need to see the lines. We need to see what comes next. So it's not a solution to me in such a position. We need to understand what's actually happening. So there's a suggestion here, queen g6, king f8, rook h7. I don't even see the threat. I don't see the win. So Lakshesh is coming with queen g6, king f8, rook h8, king e7, rook h7, king f8, but I don't go to f8, I go to d8. So because I was struggling to see the continuation here, and I don't want the class queen g8, I have queen f8. I don't want the class to be about my improvement, but about your improvement. I checked with my little digital friend, and here there is a difficult move which is slowly becoming a fan favorite, which is the slow queen takes e6. Simply threatening queen takes f5. And I think if takes here, we have so many good options. The human one would be something along the lines of this. And here we are winning. If nothing else, it's 2 pawns up. So from a human perspective, not thinking so much in computer lines, then this wins. But that would probably take some time to find. I didn't see it myself. I saw it on the engine in the chat. Okay, so a very useful thing to do when we have a line like this is reminding ourselves constantly that we are missing options, and we should look on every move when we're missing options. So it was absolutely, Jeet was absolutely correct in saying that the real problem here is king f7. And this was mentioned a few times by a few people, so I'm happy to go with it. And this is actually what happened in the game. And here there is no mate. It just isn't there. And the game ended like this, and draw was agreed. Okay. So general questions like, I'm losing a lot of winning position, what should I do? Please put them in the Facebook group. And a lot of our coaches will be happy to answer. I may answer, Ramesh may answer. If Ramesh and I have different ideas, we will probably both answer. Denier is friendly and answers. Sam Shankland is not so active on Facebook, and Ivan's not on Facebook, so they wouldn't answer. But very soon we'll have a forum, and people will be answering there, and that should be up and working very soon. So, thinking that we have this variation where we went a bit fast at times. Let's see if we can see something extra. I know there's one person already gave me the white to play and win solution here. So let's try to do something that I do often when I'm calculating variation. And I'm feeling like there should be something here, which of course is pure intuition. It's like, if you have someone's having a doubt about position evaluation from a game, can ask in Facebook group. You can ask everything you want in the Facebook group. You can ask why I have a beard. I'm not sure I will reply, but if you ask a chess question, we will give you a serious answer. And you may think it's a stupid question. We don't, because we, the coaches, in our progress, we have done so many stupid things, and we're okay with it. And when we're okay with our own stupidity, we are absolutely okay with everyone else's stupidity as well. So let's try to go through this variation slowly. I don't react to Q&A. I'm not even looking it up. Let's go through this variation slowly. H takes G6 feels right. We're opening up for our pieces. We tried other options, queen f6, queen h6 didn't work. Then we had, we can play rook h3 in the first move, but first we had this variation we're working on. Let's not just jump somewhere else. this would be absolutely a bad strategy. For example, if you go rook dh3 in the first move, then dc3, hg6, take on b2, take on c2, and queen takes g6, and you're never going to win. Or I can even play f takes g6. You're also never going to win that. So h takes g6, f takes g6 was forced. Queen h6 and still rook c7. We saw that in the other position. So instead, this rook takes h7 feels very tempting. Let's not give up. Rook takes h7. King takes h7. Okay, here we went rook h3 very automatically. This is normally the way we make tactical mistakes. And back to the thing of, yeah, Satya, I saw earlier you solved it. Sometimes when you solve it first, you have to wait for explanation, and you can look into more the method than actually the move, so you can get more out of it. No problem. So here, rook h7, king h7, and if we look for a extra move there, because we realized, oh, rook h3 came like this fast. We didn't think at all. Just didn't think. We just like went like, this feels so natural. We just did it in our mind. And then we calculated these long variations, which were nonsense. So Lakshas, Tarun, Ajit, come on, I'm waiting for more people to see the right move here. After h takes, rook h7, king h7. White to play and win. Doc's got it. Arnav's got it. Okay. Meenakshi got it. Ashwini has the wrong move. Sorry. Look for options. Sanjay's got it. No need for a question mark. Ashia is asking what to do. Look, this is the thing is, okay, h takes g6, f takes g6, rook h7, king h7, white to play. Atrosman's got it. Kushal's got it. And here's a good thing about solution. He's giving this long variation. When you're writing variations to me as a coach, you have to show me the thing that that shows me that you understand what's happening. So Kushal, for what you were giving, then again, it's a move after king h7. Everyone else just gave the move. And from there on, it's so easy that I know you know. Jeremy's got it. Ashiya's got it. Okay, I'm wondering if Boris is not here anymore. I think it's time for us to move on in a second. I have explained this example more or less to death. So we have h takes g6, f takes g6, and rook h7. This is like such an obvious try that we should spend some time actually thinking. So Bashik, we looked at this before, and the problem was that here there is no mate. So if we slow down here in this position and look for other options, because we should always look for options, seeing the things we don't automatically see. I once, almost 15 years ago, played a game with Nihua in the Olympia, a very, very strong player. At some point he was 2,700, yes, Ashwini. And there was like one position, I said to him, okay, we should stop here and think. You should, here, rook h3, we've done so many times. I'm not doing it again. but I said to Nihura, like, you can find the game after White's move 24. I said, here we should stop. And he's like, no, I have to play this. No, let's stop and think. No, I have to play this. I said, okay, whatever. At the time, the computer then said that a slow move h3 was very difficult for black. Later, it found a way to solve black's problems. My guess is I wouldn't have done that at the board if he had simply looked at other options. This is a very imaginative guy, a very friendly guy as well, I should say. But he was just numb to looking for options. And here, I don't know what went wrong with Atiban. He's very imaginative, but not always very accurate. He missed rook g3. The idea of taking on g6 is lethal, so rook g8 is forced, and then it's actually very easy. And I think we've seen enough of this example by now. So I will load my next exam, and this time I'm gonna come with a more complicated position. Here. This, I don't think many of you will be subscribers of American Chess Magazine, because I was preparing my column for like the issue after next. Yes, White to play today, and I just thought there were things with this position which was very interesting. So probably Doug and Jeremy and maybe, you know, John Hartman, probably not live now, but he would be subscribers, but that's about it. So I apologize for ruining one or two exercises by having used them in my classes as well. I do try to have different material everywhere. So Doc doesn't see it, so that's good. My column is great. The rest of the magazine, well, I'm not responsible, so what can I say? So this position here is very much more complex. And if you're watching this on a recording rather than live, I would recommend you to spend 20 minutes just thinking here. You know, stop the recording and think for 20 minutes. Live, we cannot do that, so we're going to talk through the options. I apologize for the fact that it's in the Northern Hemisphere. Okay, who are the players? Now I'm going to try to pronounce an Argentinian player, Alan Pichot. I have no ability to speak Spanish at all. It's White, 2600 Grandmaster, and Josephine Heinemann, German player, is Black. So White is a 2600 Grandmaster, and Black is a 2300 female player, VGM, FM, potentially IM, what do I know? Spelled White, P-I-C-H-O-T. I think at the moment I'm using the board from ChessBase 15 to share. And Bashik's got it right, P-I-C-H-O-T. It's a game from first round of Gibraltar, both 30. You should be able to find it on Chess24. So, okay, there was a suggestion, Queen C2, Bishop E8, Rook E8. But okay, Queen C2, let's look at moves for Black. This is already, you know, you're already in an idea, which is great, but let's try to kill that thing. and asked and answered. People are coming very quickly with knight b4. Great. So already there, we would of course be slow to make a conclusion. But we see that black has queen d6 followed by c5, regain the sacrificed pawn. Okay, let's see other suggestions here. So we have knight c4 is suggested. The idea being d takes c4, queen d7, knight d7, bishop bishop c6. That's another suggestion here, which is g4, knight takes, pawn takes, queen takes g4, king f1, unclear. Nothing unclear about it. Queen h3 check, and you're ready to resign. If king g1, then rook takes f3, queen g3, whatever. You're going to get absolutely mated here. No, suicide by, I don't know what is this, suicide by cop, they say, or here suicide by advancing pawn in front of the king is not what we're looking for. So knight c4 is suggested by a lot of people. That's an interesting idea. Ashia asks, can you please analyze my line? I'm not sure how your line started. Okay, so it's knight c4. And d takes c4 and queen d7, knight d7, bishop c6. Here, if you haven't noticed already, I will tell you white's a pawn up. So if black loses all the actual play and we exchange queens and we can put all pieces in active squares, things are fine. Knight e5 is suggested. I think after knight takes e5, bishop d7, bishop d1, black has good counterplay. There's all kind of things happening on f2, for example. So knight c4. Let's try, instead of jumping all around, which is very tempting at times, let's try to look at knight c4 and look if we can see a move for black. So I know I'm steering the calculation. Some of you want to look at my move. This is, what I hear constantly in training sessions. When can we analyze my move? And it's like, the moment people take ownerships of move, I know they decided on what they want to play before they analyzed it. I don't think that's a good idea. Decide on the best move after you analyze. So therefore you can treat them all equally to start with. So Sandra is seeing the same problem I'm seeing. If knight c4, then bishop takes f3. If queen takes f3, knight e4, and we're bleeding on f2. And if g takes f3, we have queen takes h3, bishop c6, and queen g3, and it's mate. So this is like, Ashia, you asked me to analyze the line. This is how I analyze it. I slow down and I look. I'm like, oh my God, this is a disaster. And here we leave the pen. This is a disaster. This is actually commonly known as checkmate, or something very close to it. It's clear at least that there's no advantage here. I'm like, is it made or not? I don't care. It's gone so wrong that I want nothing to do with it. So this is not what I want to play. Now there was another suggestion. I'm just going to put it in, rook e5. which just like many other moves, I just haven't considered before. But if we go back here, and this is a strategic position, not a tactical position, like we have had the other positions we looked at, and often the positions we look at page 1 and page 3, in some of the page 3 in the homework club, and often always page 1, are critical moments. Like the previous position, we had like black is about to take on c3, we're about to take on g6 and h7. It's very critical. We need to calculate. While here, this is actually a position which is strategic. We have to combine our positional aspirations with our calculation. The position is just very complex. We're not going to calculate this to the end. Why do we see that? Do we say that? Well, there are various problems for black. There's a pin and there's all kind of active options, but the more we look into them, they're not really working. By the way, I just want to put this in here. Just to have everything. So here, what is actually, so we see the 3 questions. So the 3 questions are always on page 4 in the homework club. It's from my book, Positional Play. They're also in Thinking Outside the Box. I use them all the time. I use them with little kids who don't see mate in 1. And there I'm often using some of the questions in a more friendly way, such as who's not playing? That's a common question. For worst place piece, and what can we take for weaknesses, and stuff like that. So if we do the 3 questions here quickly, and the reason we do them is we try to understand what is actually happening. And I can see that people who know the questions are sort of thinking, okay, so we start with weaknesses. So we have clear weaknesses here. These are the weaknesses that we see. Yeah. We also have weakness here. This is our extra pawn. Okay. So this is the weaknesses. We could say, to make it a little bit less clouded, we say here, these are the weaknesses, the targets. Okay, what's the worst place pieces for both sides? I would argue the queen is very badly placed. I know the rook on a8, it's not contributing, but being brutally pinned, not working. Not working. And for white, what's the worst place piece for white? Bishop c1 is suggested. We'll go back to discussing rook e5. Once we've done this, you will also know why rook e5 is probably not the right move. So rather than, see, when I ask a question, what's the worst place piece? To give me a move is not the right answer. Follow the process. And why do I say follow the process? So this is Bashik, Satya, Tarun, Ashir. Follow the process. Why follow the process? Because you will most likely never have this position. Yes, the images of the various ideas in the position will be useful. The methodology will be useful everywhere. So therefore, follow the thought process and answer the questions. I know sometimes my speed is slightly faster than what you're understanding. Other times, my speed is too slow for you. So the answer, queen d1, weakly placed piece. No, queen is defending f3 and ready to do things in the d file. So c1 bishop or a1 rook. Now, when we do this, we should think, where do the pieces belong? Where we would like to put them? So the bishop here we like to put here. A suggestion b3, bishop a3, maybe. Okay. What about the rook here? Where do you want to put the rook? Yeah, Doug, you don't want to put it there. Where do you actually want to put it? This is a suggestion. No, Jeremy, because it's occupied. Arnav, no, you don't want to put it there. And Ashir, just because you can move it doesn't mean it's bad. No, Doug. No, Jeremy, you don't want it there. Ashwini, no, you don't want it there. Where you want the rook is here. You want it to attack the weakness. So when you say rook a3, really what you should say is you want it to c3. Okay. Let's just go back to seeing this from Black's perspective. Hi, Shal. Good you could join us in the last 10, 15 minutes. So let's see this from Black's perspective. What is it Black actually wants to do in this position? He is in a pin. Queen is clearly the worst placed piece. What does he want to do? So what would be Black's move? So Alberto is suggesting, Bashik, you're wanting the conclusion halfway through the analysis. You know, I can just tell you the solution to positions and you will never improve. Or I can tell you how to solve them and you will understand chess and how it works and how to improve and how to work on your own. I'm not going to ask for what you want. So now people here are coming with Queen d6 is what Black wants to play. So why is this not so? It's right that this would be the aspiration, but it doesn't work. What happens if Black plays Queen d6? Bashik, you got it. So now everyone's favorite move from early on actually works. On Queen d6, we have Knight c4. So what would Black actually play if he's to play here? I just want to point out that this rook isn't doing anything. And I keep saying he about Black, and I apologize. I do not mean to be insensitive or sexist. It is just a bad habit. I mean her, of course. So given the time, what would Black play here? Jeremy's got it. I think everyone else are just thinking it's so easy. Kushal's got it. Black will play rook a8 with the idea Queen d6. Now, no, Black doesn't want to play bishop e8. Bishop e8, then we have problems with knight e5 maybe, and knight e5, bishop f2. I think bishop e8, maybe b5 even. The bishop's very active on h5, putting on an e8 in a position where we're sacrificed a pawn. I don't think there's much future there. No, Black wants to play rook d8 and queen d6. So let me just show you the game first here. White played b3 and Black played queen d6. I think you can see the winning move, all of you, just now. It's not so difficult. And it is certainly not bishop takes c6. So yes, knight c4, queen d6, and White has a big advantage. So I'm just going to very quickly give the main line here, the two different variations. This is my main line. Here, threatening to take, bishop e8, trying to neutralize, take, and bishop d2, defending the pawn, rook b1, taking on b3. White has a big advantage and an extra pawn. Okay, he actually missed this. And the only reason I can explain for that was he wasn't looking for it. It's likely he played b3 with the idea of wanting to take on c6. Actually, there's an interesting moment later in the game. We're going to run over a little bit today, but it's not going to be the core position. It's what happens later. We're going to do later. So if you feel like you have to leave on the dot, you will not miss this position, just miss what happened later in the game. That's just the detail. So I'm going to show you the end of the game and how it ended, but it's something I want to go back to. We have 5 more minutes. Oh no, I have to pick up my children in 15 minutes and they live 5 minutes drive from here. We have 45 more minutes. And my manager over here is tearing out her hair. And there's quite a lot of it. So it's making a big mess. So for that reason, because we have to prevent rook 88, we can now go back, and a lot of you have already said the best move, so I'm just going to give it, which is rook a3, threatening rook c3, winning on the spot. And black doesn't have time for moves like d4 or other nonsense here. d4 must be losing in so many different ways. You know, the bishop on a7 is out of play, and I think just b5, and we are happy being a pawn up. But of course, there's something stronger. I just have to find it. I think knight c4 looks pretty strong. d4, queen c2, knight b4, and then we have queen c4 check, or queen b3. Yeah, I'm not surprised there was something different. The way I think, and I think, you know, my brain is not very fast at all. It's actually quite slow, and I'm certainly not in training at all. I don't train myself, I train others. But the way it works is, in such a position, if d4, well, I have all these good options. Why would I think more? It's just like I lose all motivation to find the winning move. But yeah, d4, queen c2, and then check on b3 or c4 if black takes on d4, on b4. Correct. So here, queen d6 is forced because rook c3 is such a big threat. And knight c4, and take. And we have actually a better version of this. And okay, I have some variations here. This move is nice. Just getting the rook off the 8th rank. Cannot go to d8 now. If takes here, then g4, g5 is very unpleasant. Must go here because here it's already over. So this is sort of me sitting with too much time on my hand with the computer, and f6 is hanging, a6 is hanging, with g3 is coming. I know it's material equality at the moment, but black's position is very dire, and he had to play a number of computer moves to get to this. And again, I said he, she. Why not something random in the variation? Well, in this case, the computer didn't give it. Reality is, and this is often the case with these kind of things, when we find the first few moves, then suddenly we have many good options. Could you also play this? Yeah, probably. You did suggest rook ae3. I think bishop takes e3 was possible in that position. So maybe not. But the attitude of, could you play something else? Well, there was many options. Why rook e7? Why not rook e6 directly? Also strong. Or g4 directly? Probably not, because knight g4. But there would certainly be many options. So okay, let's take the game. So white played b3. And here, if black plays rook a d8 with the idea queen d6, she equalizes. It was that simple. I am by no means meaning easy. I am meaning simple, meaning that once we have looked at it in the way I explained it, we can understand that rook d8 and queen d6 is what's going on. But it's by no means easy, because look here, Mr. 2606 from Argentina did not play knight c4, he played bishop c6. And after this session, I'm definitely going to go and check on Chess24 how long time he spent on bishop takes c6, because that's not how we want to do it. I think if he had looked, he would have seen knight c4, and that's it. for me, it's obvious he just didn't look for options. When you don't look for options, you miss options. It sounds very simple, but actually anything that's worth being able to do or know is simple. It's not easy, it's not stupid. It's just easy to understand the approach. The actual chess is, of course, complicated. So this was his positional idea. He wanted to bring out the pieces, put the bishop in long diagonal. There's still some counterplay. So there's some tactics here. And here, black played very sensibly. Take check here, and take, and rook f3. And that's, the game ended like this. In some way, we could say this is the end of the class, because that's the end of the game. However, it was a little interesting moment, which was not interesting from the perspective of the result of the game, but it's interesting for us to talk about it as a little extra exercise. So everything from here on, 1 hour and 2 minutes into the class, is a bonus section. Here, black had another interesting move that could have made everything very complicated. So I should do this. So what are the options here? Let's find some options for black. Charles has a suggestion, but bishop takes f2. But after king takes f2, what do? e3, I play rook takes e3. Rook f3, I play king g2. And then e3, then queen c6. I think you simply lost piece. Bashik has a good move. I'm going to give people another 1-2 minutes to come with a suggestion. Doug has a good move. So if you already have suggested the right move, you can think about what white is considering. Pranav, I'm very sorry if you didn't get the message. The class was originally scheduled to start now, but we have been sending out a number of messages and made a message in the Facebook group that because of a childcare arrangement I cannot get out of, we have to start the class early. So queen c8 is suggested. I think after queen takes c7, with threat of mate on g7, I think you have gone the wrong way. And the same with rook f5. Again, queen takes c7 looks like a good move. So Boris and Shahil, Lakshyas, I'm sorry, I'm so bad at pronouncing your names, guys. It's I'm trying. Have all suggested the right move, but what should white play on that move? So I'm giving it another minute. And Pranav, you can join from now. This is a bonus section, so black to play. And then you, of course, in the recordings, you can see the rest of the session. So I'm sorry you didn't get the message. I hope you're the only one, not to make it that you lose out, but really. So bishop f2 is suggested by Pranav again. We had this just before. King takes f2. And if e3, I have rook takes e3. If rook f3, I have king g2. And my next move is queen c6. Or queen e4. So it's sort of not happening. White manages to defend. So we need a stronger move for black. But what should white play after that strong move? Of course, rook takes f3 was played in a game and so it's a draw. So we ignore that. It was sort of a way to make things more interesting. Okay, so I'm going to give black's move here, which is e3. It's a kind of aggressive move, which I hope you all will be good at finding in time. So e3, very interesting move. And it could be very tempting to play because, as Kushal points out, after f takes e3, queen takes f3. Black is just winning. But maybe not f takes e3. What does white play after e3? So bishop d4 is suggested a few times. Bishop d4. What does black play after bishop d4? Just look. Slow down and look. So after bishop d4, there's many options. So after e3, bishop d4, I would, like some of you, take an f2. Take twice, queen f3, and rook f6, and rook g6, and it should be fine. And another suggestion was, I forgot who it was queen f3, and then maybe rook e3, and it's sort of holding on. Thank you, Mayank. So e3, we need a move for white. Queen g4 was suggested. Now queen g4, if we slow down, what would we want to play after queen g4? e3, queen g4. Bashir, we'll get back to your idea. E takes f2, and then king h2 is forced. And then what? I know you sort of have a decent idea. I think there's a slightly better way of doing it. The same to Satya. You're right in the basic idea of let's just defend. I'm just going to put this on the board, and then we're going to go back again here. So the issue is that it's just white has a little pressure here. So yes, we can move the c pawn, but actually rook f7, and we just take it very easy. We put the pieces in, we have a great attack. So here, ideas for white. Thank you, Ashwini. See you around. So f4 is suggested, which I think is not working. Take an f2, take an e1. Bishop g7, king g7, queen c7. Some idea of trying to hold an endgame queen c7, rook c7, rook f7, take, fe3, rook b8, rook takes b4, coming. You know, in blitz against me, you probably hold, but it's not good, is it? You know, anything, the moment you get rook to d1 and play king e6. So there's some drawing chances. So no, that's sad. Bishop takes g7, king g7. Someone said perpetual, but how? I don't see a perpetual. I just don't see it. Queen c3, I can play a number of things. King h6 feels very natural. I don't see a perpetual at all. Rook e3 is, yeah, just bishop e3, and it's not working. So Ashia has found the move. Come on, more guys. One move ahead. Doug has found a good move. Charles has found a good move. Look for options. We need options. So in chess, we have to choose between moves. That's the most important thing we do. fe3, queen f3, queen e2, I don't know, queen queen g3 check, and if queen g2 bishop e3, you're just dead there. You're gonna absolutely get killed. So in chess, the most important we do is choose between the various moves we have. And people are actually quite good at that. What they're not very good at is finding the moves to choose between. Queen c3 is suggested. I think rook f6, and you don't like what you're looking at. You're going to lose material there. So, but it's always good to suggest ideas. Boris has the right move. So, okay, I'm going to give it a few more seconds. Pranav, rook e3, bishop f3. Queen h4, e takes f2, king h2, and if nothing else, I don't know, queen f3 or something. If I really cannot take on e1, which I sort of think I can. Why can I not take on e1? When I take on g7, I play king g8. There's no way you have anything close to a perpetual. So Lakshya has the right move, and I think that's the moment we move on. Yeah, I want to put the pawn back on e4 because I want to force you a little bit to think. Queen c7, no, queen takes c7, ef2, and take on e1. Any ideas of trying to play rook g7 is never going to work. So the right move here is king h2. After e3, we have king h2. Absolutely the critical move. What does black play after king h2? What are the options? So e3, king h2. If e takes f2, Jeremy, you do not have the right move. What happens after e takes f2? Arnav's got it. No, Shahil, no. Yes, Satya. No, Sanjay. No, Lakshas. Come on. Yes, Jeremy. Yes, Shahil. No time to waste. Come on. e3, king h2, ef2. Yes. Yes, come on, guys. Bishop takes g7, check. King g7, and then rook e7, check. And suddenly everything works. Everything works. It's going to be checkmate in the middle. We don't know how, but with the king being checked by so many pieces, we have a very clear feeling. So e3, king f2, people are suggesting queen takes f3. What's a good move there? You got it, Christopher? No, actually, it doesn't work anymore. You don't have rook e7. So if it takes g7, we can take out of the equation. And Christopher is right in what he's saying. So the question is e3, king h2, queen takes f3. What does white play here? Lakis got a good move. Arnav, you're too defensive. Bishop takes g7 doesn't work anymore, because after king takes and rook g1, we have king h8, queen c3, queen f6. Shahal, you have the right move, rook g1. So here I'm going to put this on the board here because it becomes a little bit complicated and we have a bit of difference in the level. We all have to respect each other's needs here. So here, Black's most natural move is rook f7, defending on g7. It would be very ugly to do it from g8. Here, this is sort of the moment where we could calculate this and easily get confused. That's why rook takes f3, as she played in the game, was absolutely right from practical aspiration, but as we could see, white also had to find good moves. But here, we could easily believe that the position is fine. But here, white has a very strong move. And no, Christopher? You would think so. I just want to remind everyone, by the way, don't use engines in the class ever. So it's a suggested take on g7, and it's of course very relevant. Rook g7, bishop g7, king takes g7, and rook g1 check. It looks absolutely deadly. Rook cf1 is just too slow, just too slow. I can play e2, you know, things gone wrong. So after take twice on g7 and rook g1, where can black go? Christopher, I could play king f8 on queen takes c7, and if you play rook g1, indeed I have king f6, and miraculously it's not so easy. Actually, because I've computer checked it during game, we would just go, oh, it's not so easy. It's very unclear. My head's starting to hurt. I can't see a way to bring in the rook. Christopher, just king e8 then. And we have these long variations, and generally when long variations, when we lose control of them, let's return to the basics. Long variations is not what we want to do. We want to be when we don't have clarity, when we don't have control. Let's try to slow down and go back to this position here. Here, let's look at this position here. White to play. Let's try to see if we're missing something in the beginning of the variations, because that is usually where we miss things. So here, I'm just going to make things easy for you. I always think in this way. So Shahil, you have found the idea. That's very good. I think when we think like this, seeing worst place piece is not doing anything on c1. Weakness is g7. Blacks want to play c2. Alberto, you can do it a little more aggressive. You're sort of thinking the right way, but you can do it much more aggressive. Ashir, you want to play queen g4, and after queen takes g4, you're never going to win the game. So here, coming a few suggestions in the right direction. I'm going to wait for one more. Christopher's right. So here indeed we have rook g3. And queen f2, and rook g2, and queen f3. And it's the same position as before almost, but something's changed. The pawn has disappeared. Can you guys see why the sacrifice on g7 works this time? Don't play slow. You don't have the time. On rook c g1, I have time for rook g8. Arnav is right. Charles is right. There's a huge difference with the f-pawn gone. This is what we call comparison. Atrosman's got it, Boris got it, Mukund's got it, everyone's got it. It's a really nice, I think, really nice detail. I know this position was not too relevant for the game, but here, only difference is rook f1 winning the queen. And yes, there's a pass pawn on e3, but black is, king is so bad and so many problems that it's not going to help him. White just wins. So let's go back a little bit here. We can see that after e3, which looks so tempting to start with, king h2, actually the position is dangerous for black, not for white. So I think e3 would practically be, you know, in the old days it would definitely be a mistake because people wouldn't, in annotating the books, wouldn't find the way for black to hold. But we sort of went over the territory, so it's very similar to what we're doing. The only difference is here, rook g1 doesn't exist. White only has bishop g7. And in this position, we have king f6. And here we actually have a quite funny position where the engine says 0.0 after 4 different black moves. The most natural move for me is this, and check, check. And we could play rook f6, king g7, and perpetual in many, many different ways. And I know one or two arrived to the class at the originally scheduled time. I'm very sorry that we had to change it. We announced it a few days ago in the Facebook group. And if you're following that, please go to the See First. We also send out email. I know sometimes there are people who are asking questions that were in emails they have opened. We know you have opened them, or in Facebook posts you have seen. We're very happy to answer questions. Can we ask just for us to be most effective in answering the most important questions, that you just check the most recent updates on Facebook or an email before you ask questions? I myself ask stupid questions. Don't feel guilty if you ask something which was already answered. But sometimes just check before you ask. So with this, I'm gonna end this session here. These are the names, in case my pronunciation of it was too poor. I really enjoyed this session. I think I managed to make my points about why we need to slow down, why we need to look at options. I think we saw it again and again that people were having these long variations, but actually the things we need to see were very often in the beginning of the variations. So Christopher, did it start early? We started 1.5 hours ago. I had to change the timing. I did it 2 days ago. I know it was very late. I had no choice. Very sorry about it. The recording will be up tomorrow at the latest.
Maybe today.
Maybe today.
It depends on Zoom, how fast it processes. It has nothing to do with us.
Yeah, it's how fast Zoom processes. We get an email from Zoom saying it's ready. We'll make it available in the Facebook group. I think this session was very interesting. For those who came late, I am gonna just do this. This position here, I really do recommend you spend 20 minutes or half an hour working it out. This is a strategic exercise, which means a combination of positional considerations and calculation. If you find out what the players want to achieve and then calculate the position, you may be able to solve it. I think it's one of my nicer recent exercises. It's white to play and win strategically. And take a screenshot now because I'm going to cancel end the class. And I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll see you again on Monday, where Homework Club will be 3 hours later than usual. And this is because I will be in Germany. And I will see you then. And also I'm giving a class Sunday evening at 7 UK time, if I remember correctly.
I think your homework this week is on Tuesday.
No, that's the week after.
Okay.
So thank you very much. And I will have game of the week on Sunday, and I will have homework club on Monday. And then I will be going to Spain, and therefore the homework club that would have been on the 10th of February will be on the 11th of February. Move the day so that I'm not scheduled to give a lesson in the middle of my flight. Thank you very much.